UFC 296 is stacked, and it might just be the best card of the year. Stick around to the end of the video to hear my full breakdown for UFC 296. I'm Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. All right, guys, so this is going to be the first installment of my new series called A Closer Look. I'll take a look at the big cards before they come up and give breakdowns and thoughts on each of the important fights on the card without giving any predictions. The predictions will wait until closer to the fight. The UFC is capping the year with an amazing card in T-Mobile Arena at UFC 296. The main event, Leon Edwards defending his welterweight championship against Colby Covington. This fight is really intriguing. You have a striker versus grappler matchup, similar to Leon's last two fights against Kamaru Usman, except Colby has that high-pace pressure wrestling. Honestly, he's kind of like welterweight Merab, or maybe Merab is bantamweight Colby, but high cardio, high pressure, high pace, tons of takedowns. And we're going to see how Leon's takedown defense can stand up to 20 or 30 takedown attempts in a single fight. Kamaru Usman didn't go for as many takedowns in the second fight as I thought he would. Decided to spend a lot of time on the feet and kind of coasted to a decision loss against Leon. Colby is going to have a real sense of urgency, in my opinion. And I think that Leon is going to have a real test on his hands when it comes to takedown defense. We've seen Colby engage with the hands and keep fights on the feet, but that has tended to be against other wrestlers, such as Kamaru Usman. When Colby Covington faces an elite striker, or even just an above average striker, like a Jorge Masvidal, he spends most of the fight wrestling, as we saw in his fight against Jorge Masvidal. With the fight with Leon being against such a high-level kickboxer with highlight reel knockouts like the Usman knockout, I think that Colby is going to stick to his guns and we are going to see a lot of takedowns. But I'm really excited for this. I remember seeing earlier this year a meme saying that we could really have Sean Strickland, Colby Covington, and Sean O'Malley as UFC champs by the end of the year. And we are one fight from that being a reality. If Colby pulls off this fight, that meme prophecy will be fulfilled. This is probably the most excited and intrigued that I've been for a fight in a little while, because while I'm leaning towards Colby in some ways, I am honestly at a standstill. I can't decide who's going to win. So come back closer to the fight to see my official prediction for Covington versus Edwards. The co-main event is going to be Alexandre Pantoja defending his flyweight title against Brandon Royval. Flyweight is a little bit boring without Brandon Moreno fighting for titles. I hate to be a snob about it and act like, be one of those guys that doesn't like all of the divisions. But flyweight is a little boring, and Pantoja did put on an amazing fight of the year candidate with Moreno. I don't see this fight being something that the fans look forward to too much. There's too many big fights on the card for this one to stand out. Now, I understand it needs to be a co-main because it's a title fight, but the fans are looking towards a lot of other fights on the card. Pantoja versus Royval is a rematch of a fight from 2021 where Alexandre Pantoja actually won by submission in the second round, I believe, against Royval. So this will be interesting. It'll be a high-paced fight. You have two guys with great cardio, as flyweights tend to have. And I think it'll be a great fight, even if I'm not all that excited for it. The winner is likely to face whoever wins the anticipated February matchup between Amir Albazi and Brandon Moreno. And knowing the UFC and how much Dana doesn't really care for the flyweight division, Brandon Moreno is their guy. They're going to look to get him back into the title spot. It's just that he hasn't been able to defend the belt. I'm sure they would love to see Brandon Moreno rack up title defenses like Mighty Mouse did so that they can push this flyweight division and especially have more events in Mexico like they're rumored to be doing in February. So while this is a title fight, I'm more looking at this as who is the UFC going to tee Brandon Moreno up to fight against, because I personally think Brandon Moreno is going to beat Amir Albazi in February. The next fight on the card is one of the most intriguing matchups. That is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson against Shavkat Rakhmonov. You have 40-year-old Wonderboy looking to get into the title mix with a win over Shavkat. And you have undefeated all finishes Shavkat Rakhmonov coming in with the UFC looking to put him over with a big name like Wonderboy. This is an interesting fight because you have the new guard in Shavkat Rakhmonov fighting against the old guard or the welterweights of yesterday, such as Wonderboy Thompson. Now, Wonderboy could shake up the UFC's plans to push Rakhmonov towards a title in a huge way if he pulls off a win. If this fight stays on the feet, I could see Wonderboy winning, but he has a tall task in front of him with a fantastic striker and grappler in Shavkat Rakhmonov. Moving down the card from there, you have Tony Ferguson taking on Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. Now, this fight was the cause for some controversy when it first got announced because you have the hype train Paddy against 7 straight losses Tony. Tony has been training with David Goggins, which has also been the source of some controversy. Some people saying that, wow, now Tony can't lose. He's training with David Goggins. And you have other people saying that Tony's just depleting himself so unnecessarily weeks before a fight. You also have Paddy Pimblett saying that he gains nothing from this fight. Either he loses and gets exposed and looks terrible for losing to Tony Ferguson at this point in Tony's career, or he wins and people don't like him because he beat up on Tony, who we all love. I'm a little bit concerned with Paddy's take on the fight, saying that he doesn't gain anything from this, because Beneil Dariush said the same thing about Arman Tsarukyan, and he got finished in about a minute. That mindset playing in, I could see Paddy coming in a little bit not focused, and especially a big card after taking about a year off. I can see a path to victory for Tony, while it might seem unlikely. But this is probably the matchup that I'm most intrigued to see on the card, because I want to see how Tony looks after training with David Goggins, and I want to see how Paddy looks coming off an injury. Maybe it's my love for Tony talking here, but part of me just feels like there's still something in the tank. And you guys might say I'm tripping, but to me, it feels like there's something in the tank for Tony. And I'd love to see him get a win against Paddy. Moving down from there, we have Ian Garry against Vicente Luque opening up the main card. This is a fight that people are going to be looking at. And it's not even because of the fight. And it's because of the controversy that Ian Garry and his wife have gone through in recent weeks. Most of you guys know what's up with that, but I'll let you do your own research if you haven't heard of How to Be a Wag. Ian Garry's on the rise. It's very clear that they're kind of pulling the same thing here as they are with Shavkat and Wonderboy. And they're just trying to they're trying to get a respectable win for their prospect while also building his name on the biggest card of the year. This one's really intriguing because we'll see how Vicente Luque looks after some time off, and we'll see if Ian Garry can withstand the pressure that he's been put under. Because after this whole nonsense with his wife and the beef with Sean Strickland and all of these different things, he might come into this fight way too emotional and fight out of character for himself. And against a vet like Vicente Luque, that's going to be a problem for him if that's the case. Let me know your thoughts down below. Which fight are you most excited for at UFC 296? And who do you think is going to win each of the fights that I just went over with you guys? Make sure to come back during fight week to see my official predictions for each of the fights I just laid out for you. If you like this video and you want more content just like this, like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date with our latest videos. If you want more content from me, go check out my weekly comedy podcast, the Hissy Fit podcast, and go check out my personal channel, Wyatt's World. Go watch this suggested video, and I'll see you next time.